everybody. Hope you're having a good day. Weather out here is really not too bad right now. But anyway, we do need to remember from time to time, excuse me, that there's people we need to pray for. Along the Gulf Coast, many lives have been upset, some lives lost. And so we need to pray for those people down there and the recovery from the hurricane that they had come through. And we're mindful in the fires out here in California, thousands of homes have been burned up because of all these fires. So we need to pray for them also. And all of God's saints everywhere who are in peril or have family in peril. And so we must be mindful of that. Also realize every day there's thousands of people die on the roadways of this nation. And so, yeah, I mean, there's things going on. We have the virus going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, just pray for everybody that you can. I mean, that's what God wants you to do, so pray for them. All right, the lesson today is called Selective Hearing. And as we all know, there are many obstacles to proper communication. And some of the problems happen when one person says one thing, but the other person hears something completely different. And this is very common. And we call it selective hearing, and it affects many people. Now, children usually ignore instructions from the parents unless it is something they really want to do. See, a parent might say to the child, if you clean your room, we will go to the zoo. Well, going to the zoo is heard loud and clear to that child. And that's the only thing that really matters to them. What is not so clear is the first part about cleaning their room. And they wouldn't even understand if they didn't get to go to the zoo, why not? I mean, it's like mama lied or daddy lied. I mean, so, yeah, they kind of miss out on that part. And sadly, many people never grow out of this stage of life. And it has become quite evident in recent times. See, in Genesis chapter 3, we see that Eve finally heard what she wanted to hear. She was kind of upset. You could tell by her attitude, her words that she spoke. She was upset about the command from God, and all it took was the serpent saying to her that she would not surely die. And as we see, she did not die physically, but did die spiritually. And this has been a problem for countless numbers of people throughout history. And we see it every day. We know that some news agencies are biased in their presentation of the facts, and they usually have their own audience who will pay attention to what they say and believe what they say. Yet we also know that if an independent news agency reported something, the listeners hear two different things. I mean, some listeners will hear one thing, the other listeners will hear the other thing. And that's probably because they're pre-programmed by their likes and dislikes and their prejudices and their background as to what they want to believe and what they will believe. And even if the truth is presented, well, I don't believe that, is probably what they're going to say. And so partly it's because of what they want to hear. We have this problem in the scriptures mentioned. Paul said the time will come they will not endure sound doctrine, but wishing to have their ears tickled will accumulate for themselves teachers of their own desire. 2 Timothy 4, verses 3 and 4. So, and we see this evidence on TV, sometimes with the news. A speech is shown, and the commentators from the two different opposing sides basically respond with completely different takes on what was said. Well, the person said this. The other side would say the person said that, and neither one would focus upon what was actually said. It's just what they think or what they want to be said. And so we know that preconceived ideas slant a person heavily in the direction of another. And that is why they can hear an identical soundbite from the news and become convinced of what they heard, while the other person who has a different slant on it is completely wrong because they did not hear it that way. So that is a problem we have in communication. You know, we spend a lifetime trying to communicate to all sorts of people. And sometimes we learn we need to repeat ourselves often. And still the message is not received. And that happens. You know, in the workplace, I spent many years as a supervisor. And in the workplace, you learned a phrase called listen to communicate. And in simple terms, what this means, the boss tells the employee what is expected or what he wants done, but instead of letting them go attempt what the boss wants, the boss needs to ask the employee if he or she understands the directive. Now, some employees who actually know what they're doing, you can just bark out a few commands and boom, they know what to do. Other employees, you have to sit down. Okay, now here's what you got to do. It's different from what you've done before. So I need you to do this and this and this in this order. And so you kind of have to explain it. And so before you let the employee go to attempt it, you ask them, now repeat to me what instructions you heard so that we can get this done right. And so that's what you need to do. Listen. And so, yes, sometimes you have to treat grown-up people like children if you want something done right. And yet, also, we need to do it in such a way where they don't perceive that you're treating them like children. All right. Now, God has given us his instructions in the pages of his Bible. And they should be simple enough to understand, but we find people getting it wrong all the time. They have to study really hard to get it wrong. That's the problem we face. These people have studied really hard to get it wrong. And they search hard and long until they finally can get it wrong. But we find people getting it wrong all the time. And many choose not to follow the instructions of God and choose to do as they please. Now, someone may ask, well, why do they do this? But you see, it really does not matter why someone does this, because we know what God said, and that should settle the matter. But the problem is, for a lot of people, it does not. And still we have those who have been taught error in the past, and they understand the truth is often hid from them because of their background. And so, yes, Paul had this problem with the Jews. He says the truth is hidden from them. It's like they have a veil over their face and they cannot see the truth. And then, of course, some do not love the truth and they don't want the truth. And so they took pleasure in a lie. 2 Thessalonians 2:11 and 12 tells us that. And another problem we face, a person can speak the truth, but the person who does not want the truth will hear something else. I mean, that's a problem we have. And sometimes a person may speak the truth in love, trying to be as kind in the matter as possible, and the listener will hear hate speech and reject it totally. So, yeah, that's a problem we have with selective hearing. We just need to work to remove the barriers of communication and open our conversation up. And sometimes you have to go point A, point B, point C as if like these were children. Because in their minds, they've already got their mind made up about something. And a lot of times, there's no amount of convincing will work to change their mind. And once their mind is made up, you're not going to change it. Those people who say that baptism is not necessary, their mind is made up, and it's practically impossible to get them to realize how important baptism is. Doesn't matter how many scriptures you throw at them. It doesn't matter how many scriptures you quote or even have them read. You can have them read these things, and they'll sit there and look at it and say, I don't see it. I don't see it. And they're blinded. They're blinded by their own desires, by their own ways. So we need to look at that. So realize selective hearing is out there. And in many ways, everyone is biased or prejudiced because they hear what they want to hear. And if someone's saying they don't want to hear, what do? They change the channel. And so, I mean, and sometimes when someone starts speaking, uh, they try and disrupt it or start screaming, and they don't want to hear it. So, you see this sometimes in there when there's protesters. One person says, "Well, what are you protesting?" And they'll explain what they're protesting, and then the other person starts talking. They just start la 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 la, making noise and screaming and blowing their bullhorns and stuff like that. So the other side is not allowed to be heard. And that's basically the direction our nation is going with these young rebellious people out there. They don't want to hear what logical thinking people want to say. They're just going to say what they want to say, and any other comment is not worth listening to. So that's the direction our country is taking, and it's very, very sad that it's that way. So for right now, consider this. Communication is important, and sometimes you have to listen to communicate. All right, consider these words. Enjoy your day today. Have a blessed day. Remember to pray for all those that need God's assistance. And if you will, Lord willing, be back tomorrow for another lesson. All right, bye-bye for now.